Hang on. Doing promotion. Just trying to get people to listen. By the way, bracket cam. There you go. And I'm going to take it off. It's gone. See, this is behind the scenes stuff here.
Me resetting my internet didn't do anything, by the way.
Yeah, I can tell. Terrible. It's fine. What can you do? I feel like this happened in the other show to start the season. But I'm just going to get this out of the way while we're here. Any thoughts from you so far?
College basketball. Woo.
All right.
How's that for a thought?
I don't know, but I'm enjoying this.
What are you doing?
Just getting it out of the way while we're here. The broken wing there. All right, here we go. 2023-24 college basketball. Midseason. It's not even really midseason, to be honest, but I think we can still get away with it. I mean, you look at, like, most teams are just over the midseason mark. Purdue's played 19 games. Several teams played 18 games. What do you want from us? We're going to call it midseason. It's midseason in the sense that if a team makes it to the Sweet 16, they're in the middle of their season right now. And if they also make a run in the conference tournament. Anyway, okay. This is hopefully a situation where people from the Illini podcast will tune into this. I'm going to guess that that's a no, that's not going to happen. But we tried our best. The best was tried. All right, let's start it here. Look back a little bit at the preseason predictions, which has been a few months since that was done. I guess that would have been late October, early November. I don't know when we did that, but giving it a look, my look here for my picks, not great, I would say. I had Duquesne winning the A-10, which is a disaster. They are like maybe in last place.
Yeah, you were hating on Dayton.
I was. That's my bad. Yeah.
Pick Dayton.
Yeah, Duquesne's 0-5 in league play, so that'll do it. Not good. Bad pick. I took Memphis in the American. I don't think that's a bad pick. They did lose yesterday, but FAU has been inconsistent. They do lead it, though, 5-1. Memphis is 4-2. Give it time. That's what I'll say to that. I think you took FAU, right?
And what?
Did you take Memphis or FAU in the American?
Memphis.
Okay, never mind. We both took Memphis. Wow. We believe in Penny.
Yeah, that's right.
Conference USA, I took Sam Houston State. They're 3-1, tied with Louisiana Tech and New Mexico State.
I took Western Kentucky. It's not doing great.
Completely forgot to include Conference USA in anything we're doing today, but
good. Perfect.
It sucks. The conference sucks anyway. Mountain West, I took San Diego State. The Mountain West is probably better than the Pac-12 this year.
Mountain West going to get 6 teams in?
That's what my bid people are telling me.
Okay.
Utah State's first right now, 5-1. San Diego State's 4-2. But I would say the best team in the conference is between Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico, and Colorado State. So and Nevada's good too. There's a lot of good teams. Missouri Valley, I took Drake. They're in an okay spot. They're 7-1 with Indiana State.
I took Bradley.
Bradley is in third, 6-2. I right now, though, as it currently stands, I like. I'm going to take this. This top button's annoying me. I'm going to take Indiana State. Why is there no? There should be 3 buttons with this shirt. Indiana State is the team that I like the most in the Missouri Valley. West Coast Conference. I don't even want to look at my pick. I did. I mean, my pick is in first place, but they have not been very good this year, as opposed to what I thought they'd be, which is St. Mary's, who's 5-0.
Yeah, I picked Gonzaga.
Gonzaga's 4-1, tied with San Francisco. Santa Clara 5-1.
Yeah.
ACC, I took Duke. Not great.
Same.
North Carolina looks like they're going to run away with it. They're 7-0. Duke's 4-2. Big 12, I took Houston, which this conference is all cluttered, but Houston is in third, or it's tied with several teams at 3-2.
I took Kansas.
It makes no sense that Texas Tech and Kansas State are the leaders of that conference right now. Big 10, I took Michigan State. That was a swing and a hefty miss.
I took Illinois, shockingly.
I mean, Michigan State's 2.5 games out. So it's not crazy, but obviously Purdue or Wisconsin's going to win the Big Ten.
Schedule and Purdue being elite.
Big East, I took Creighton. I thought that with how many guys they had returning, they would have a chance. They're in third right now, behind UConn and Seton Hall.
UConn.
Thought we might see a bit of a championship hangover for Hurley, but that hasn't been the case.
No.
Pac-12, I took Arizona.
Same.
And they are tied with Oregon at 5-2, and Arizona State 5-2. But I think Arizona pretty clearly stands out over the rest. This is on pace to be a 2-bid league this year, the Pac-12, in their final year. So we'll see. SEC, I took Tennessee.
Same.
And they are tied with Alabama and Kentucky at 4-1. Auburn leads at 5-0. Auburn might be the best team in the conference, so we'll see. Outside of that, looking at my other predictions, my preseason Final Four was Duke, Purdue, Arizona, Alabama, with Purdue winning it all. I'll stand by some of that, not all of it.
I had Duke, Tennessee, Purdue, and Creighton with Tennessee winning it all, which is a pretty big difference from what I have now. So
I also wrote down secret scrimmage results from the preseason, and they're not as crazy as they seem to be going into the season. I wrote down Florida beating Miami by 2. That's not that crazy. North Carolina beating FAU by 16 is not that crazy. Michigan beating Marquette by 4 is interesting, but I don't know. I mean, probably shouldn't have happened. Indiana State beating Cincinnati by 2 should not be a surprise. And then Colorado State beating Minnesota by 38. It's not that crazy. I mean, I think Minnesota's been okay this year. They're not good, but they're not quite the level they have been the last couple seasons, since the Pitino firing. Several Big Ten teams I've noticed have fired and hired a new coach, and it's not worked out well. Michigan's obviously had their tournament runs, but right now it's bad. I don't think Minnesota's done any better since firing Pitino. Pitino, in fact, has gone, on to New Mexico, and he's had some good teams there. I think they'll be in the tournament this year. Remains to be seen with Penn State. Obviously, everybody knew they were going to take a drop from last season. I think Maryland with Willard has been probably about what you could expect. 22 wins last year, got to the second round. And they're starting to, figure some things out this year, but they're going to have to work to get into the tournament. But we'll see. So I would say the grass is not always greener. There's a reason Nebraska and Northwestern stuck with their guys, and it's paying off a bit this year for Nebraska, and it paid off last year. And Northwestern is a program. It's like you can't really expect greatness basketball wise, and it's interesting. The Barstool Northwestern account has taken it upon themselves to talk junk about the Illini when they beat them by 30. Did you see that? It's very weird, and I'm sure it's something we could talk about on the other podcast, but very bizarre from the Barstool Northwestern.
I did not see it. No,
it was something about talking about Shannon returning and playing against Northwestern. He didn't play against them the first time, and then the Barstool Northwestern account's response was something like, "Oh, why was he not there the first time?" Trying to say that, "Oh, we didn't say why he was suspended." Why are you even talking about a game that you lost by 30 without the rest?
Right.
I don't. Yeah, those accounts suck. All right, I have one thought for each conference that we're going to discuss today, and I don't know why I forgot to include the Conference USA, but they're lost. Their conference kind of sucks anyway this year. The ACC right now, I think, is a conference that has a lot of teams that do things efficiently on one side of the ball, and there's not a lot of teams that are good on both ends. I think there's 3 teams that are actually good on both ends in terms of efficiency, and that's probably North Carolina. I would put Duke in that category. I would put Wake Forest slightly in that category, and then other than that, I don't think other good offenses in terms of efficiency are Miami and Clemson. They're not good enough defensively to be in that conversation. So what that tells me is that the ACC is not going to have a lot of title contenders. I think there's probably 2, and I'm still trying to figure out what Duke is right now, but I think they'll be fine, even though that loss to Pitt is tough.
Yeah.
But they had won 8 in a row going into that. And luckily for them, they have Louisville, Clemson, is fine, but they should win that game. And Virginia Tech in their next 3 before Saturday, February 3rd is going to be a great game. Duke at North Carolina. North Carolina looks to have fully rebounded from a down year last year. They're 7-0 in the conference, 15-3 in the season. They're 15th in offensive efficiency, 4th in defensive efficiency. They're 3 losses. Villanova, they lost in overtime, lost to UConn and Kentucky. North Carolina looks about as good as they've looked since the title loss a few years ago. The Big Ten, not as many bids in this league as there normally are. I think there's probably, 6 right now?
Yeah, that sounds right.
6 with, Ohio State being a fringe team. So,
yeah.
I mean, how many second weekend contenders are in the Big Ten? It's probably 4, I would say. I would say Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan State are the 4 teams that I could see getting to the second weekend. Northwestern, I don't trust. Nebraska, if they make it, I don't trust. And then if Ohio State makes it, that team does not have any level of consistency against good opponents. I mean, they lose to Texas A&M, but they beat Alabama. They lost to Penn State. They blew a huge lead in that game. They really haven't been tested overall. The only legitimate opponents they've played this year, I would say, are Texas A&M, Alabama, and Wisconsin. And they did not pass the test in 2 of those. So, they're not. I mean, if they get on offensively, I could see it, but I don't see it. Not at all. I forgot to change the banner. Good stuff by me. The Big 12 is probably the hardest conference to string together wins in, I would say. And I don't even think it's close. I don't think there's the SEC, there's a small argument there, but the Big 12, you have Texas Tech, top 25 offense. Kansas State, top 25 defense. Houston, top 20 offense, number 1 defense. This is all about Ken Palm efficiency that I'm saying, these numbers. Iowa State, number 3 defense. Baylor, number 6 offense. Kansas, not an elite Kansas team right now. I will say 26th in both. You have BYU's top 20 in both. You have UCF's a top 10 defense. You have Texas as a top 35 offense. You have Cincinnati's top 25 defense. You have TCU's top 25 defense. Oklahoma, top 20 defense. There's 2 bad teams in this conference, I would say. And I would say UCF is probably not defined as good, quote unquote, just because of their offense. But they also have wins over Texas and Kansas. So, I mean, it's the scary thing about the Big 12 is that it's the number 1 conference right now, and they're adding Arizona next year. So they're adding Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah, I believe. Which that's 3 schools right there that are fine at basketball, especially Arizona obviously stands over the rest. But how would you feel right now if you were a fan of a Big 12 team? Probably not great.
No. I mean, unless it was a top Big 12 team.
Arizona next year.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised at Kansas's metrics. I think they'll get better, but yikes. They're 3-2 in conference play with not the losses you would expect. West Virginia and UCF. I mean, 2 of the bottom 3 teams in the conference. So they got to figure something out there. I don't really know what the solution is. I haven't watched enough of them since the TCU game that they were handed, or else they would be 2-3 in the conference.
Yeah.
But a team with DeJuan Harris, Kevin McCullough, Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, and some of the bench pieces they have, coached by Bill Self, should not be where they are. I know they're 15-3, and that's great, but yikes, they better figure this out. I think that they will win their next 3. Cincinnati at Iowa State's going to be tough, but I think they'll win that. And then Oklahoma State, and then they'll go into Houston with an 18-3 record is my prediction. But tough spot for Kansas right now. Big East, I think UConn stands out over everybody. That's my one thought. I just think that they survived the time without Klingon. He comes back. They win a close one over Villanova over the weekend. He was also played 16 minutes against Creighton. They held Creighton under 50 points, which is hard to do. But I think UConn is the best team in the Big East, and I think they're a tier above everybody.
Yeah. Are you surprised how well Seton Hall is playing right now?
Yeah, I think Seton Hall is a team that probably should not be as good as they've been. Like, I don't think that this is a team that screams 6-2 in the conference with wins over UConn and Marquette,
Yeah.
and they probably should be 7-1. I think that there is some sketchy business going on that triple overtime game against Creighton, but
Yeah.
Shaheen Holloway can coach. I mean, whether you disagree with the fact that he gets in an argument in like every handshake line or not, I mean, he can do it. SEC,
Sure.
I know Alabama's in the mix with these three, but I think Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn are significantly better than everybody else right now. I think that each of these three teams has different, like, I know the metrics would tell you Tennessee might be a little bit better than Auburn just because of the defense, but I think Auburn's the best team in the conference right now because they do everything well. I mean, one of the scary things might be an issue down the road, but like Auburn, this is not an elite 3-point shooting team, which some of their best teams with
Have always. Yeah.
Bruce Pearl have done that. Like
Yeah.
the last couple of years have been bad, but like you look at the team that got to the Final Four in 2019, they were 21st in doing it. So overall, there haven't been a lot of them, but I think that this team, he's gotten to the second round the last 2 years with 3-point shooting that's been much worse than what they've been this year. But this is probably one of the better defensive teams he's had there. 2 years ago, they were 9th in efficiency. They're currently 6th. Yeah, I think that Auburn's the best team in the conference, but I think that'll change. I think Kentucky is only getting better, especially with the new addition that they have there with Ivisic, whatever you want to call him.
Big Z, I think.
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
The Croatian big man comes in 16 minutes, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals against Georgia in a game where Kentucky scored 105. They have so many weapons. I mean, Reeves, Wagner, Trey Mitchell had a big game. Aaron Bradshaw, super talented big. Justin Edwards, same thing. Dillingham's a really good freshman guard. This is a classic Calipari team that I'd be surprised if they don't get to at least the Sweet 16. Pac-12, my takeaway is that this has been a pathetic season for UCLA and USC.
Yeah.
USC, especially with the talent they have. I know they have some injuries with Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier going down, but they were not good before then. And then UCLA, I thought, was a team that held themselves up pretty well despite being one of the weaker teams in Maui. Their season has taken a major spiral. This is a UCLA team that is 8-11, 3-5 in the conference. Had a lead against Arizona, lost it. They lost by, 46 points to Utah. Not good. Not a good offense. Just not. It's not going well. Life after Hawkes and Campbell for UCLA, so they stink. American Athletic, FAU struggling more than they should be, I think.
Yeah.
You look at what they've done this year. It's a new conference for them, so I guess they're learning, but losses to Charlotte in conference play. They're 5-1 in the conference, but lost to Charlotte. They went to overtime with UTSA. They got a foul call, and a 3 at the end of the game to beat Tulane by 1. Not great. And this is a team that beat Arizona, so I don't know. I mean, I still think they'll be fine. I think they'll do some damage in the tournament, but they should probably be a little bit better than they are. But they're also 15-4, 5-1 in conference, so you take it.
Yeah, I mean,
them playing Memphis will be interesting.
Yeah, Charlotte's number 2 in the conference right now, so
but I don't think FAU should lose to that team.
Probably not.
That's a team that has metrics on par with Loyola Chicago, so I don't know. Not that metrics are everything, but I think the Mountain West is a really fun conference to watch. Probably the best mid-major conference to watch. I mean, you have Utah State, Boise State, San Diego State, New Mexico, Colorado State, Nevada. UNLV's got a good offense. A lot of different threats there. This is probably one of the better Mountain West years. Last year was good. They had 4 bids last year. I think this year they'll have more than 4, probably thanks to the Pac-12 and the Big Ten having less than usual. But I also think the Big 12 is going to have more than usual, so it'll even out a little bit. But good conference. West Coast Conference, San Francisco, Santa Clara could be sneaky teams to beat a Gonzaga or a St. Mary's in the conference tournament. I could see that. Atlantic 10, Dayton has an elite offense, and I was wrong about them. So there you go. And then Missouri Valley, I think Drake and Bradley are a tier behind Indiana State. I think Indiana State's the best team in the conference. Things could change. I think this is a conference that has a weird conference tournament every year, but in terms of who wins and who loses. But I like Indiana State a lot. Players to watch right now. You need one player you got to watch in each conference, and I think you have a lot of guards, is what I heard. And I also have a lot of guards as well.
Yeah, I definitely went guard heavy. I also went scoring leaders in the conference heavy. So I'm going with RJ Davis from North Carolina in the ACC. He's averaging 20 and a half a game, 3.3 rebound or 3.4 rebounds, 3.3 assists. I think him and Caleb Love separating has kind of given them the best, versions of each other, not on the same team. So yeah, RJ Davis is a step above what he used to be, I think. So
You're seeing some return to what he was doing in the tournament. He had a huge game against Baylor 2 years ago in the second round when they were an 8 or a 9, whatever. I think they were an 8 that year, and those years they went to the national championship. So you're seeing a little bit more of that. I'm going with PJ Hall from Clemson. I made this pick when they were 1-1 in the conference. They're now 3-4. But good player. I mean, look, he's not shooting the ball quite as well from three as you'd like, but he's taking more threes. He's 2 threes away from how many he had last year. He's shooting 61% from inside the arc. That's better than what he did last year. They lost to Georgia Tech in double overtime. He had 31 points, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. Makes a lot of shots, decent free throw shooter, one of the better bigs in the conference, especially when it comes to stretching the floor and doing different things on offense. And if they're going to compete for a tournament bid, they're going to need him to show up and continue to put up those numbers. Big Ten.
I went with Braden Smith from Purdue for the Big Ten, only because I think Purdue is only as good as Braden Smith can be. I know that, Zach Edey is the dominant force on that team, but the team goes as Braden goes. He's averaging 12 and a half a game, almost 7 assists, and 5.3 rebounds per game as a point guard. So I think he's a key piece in Purdue getting to the national championship.
Another player I went with before his team started to be bad, Bruce Thornton, Ohio State. I mean, what am I doing? Really missed this one in terms of what Ohio State is now. I picked him when they were 2-1 in the conference. They're now 3-4. I think Bruce Thornton is going to be a key to Ohio State trying to climb back into the tournament mix because they're on the outside looking in right now, and he struggled a bit. I mean, they beat Penn State in their last game, and he didn't do anything. But then they lost 3 in a row. He had 19 points, 6 rebounds against Michigan. He had 13 points, 6 assists against Wisconsin. They need him to do what he was doing earlier in the year, which was 29, 3-4 against Alabama. It was 26, 2-5 against Minnesota, 24, 4-7 against Rutgers. They need more of that. He's down to 31% from 3 in the year. He shot 37% last year, his freshman year. So Ohio State needs Bruce Thornton to figure it the F out or they're in trouble. Big 12.
I went with the same guy that I picked preseason, Kevin McCullough Jr. He's averaging almost 20 a game, 6.7 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Really good ball player for Kansas. He doubled his points per game already from last year. 5th year. One of the best guards in the Big 12, I think. So
I'm gonna go. I'm going with the guy who's injured. So
are you okay?
I'm trying to see what happened. I guess he's fine. He didn't play in their last game, but I'm going with I don't know if it's Tameen or Taman. I don't listen to Iowa State games with audio on. So Lipsy, I'm going with Lipsy from Iowa State. The 6'1" sophomore guard has really developed this year, shooting 38% from 3. One of the better players is Iowa State team, probably the best player, averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Especially 5 rebounds, 5 assists, can score, shooting 45, 38, 67 on the season. As a 6'1" guard to get 5 rebounds a game, I think that's great. And Iowa State's a team that's identity is based in defense. So they need offense, and he's provided it in a lot of games this year. He's got an MVP, a KenPom MVP against Oklahoma State, New Hampshire, Eastern Illinois, Florida A&M, Prairie View A&M, DePaul. Not the greatest teams here. VCU, Grambling State, Lindenwood, not the greatest opponents. But I mean, he also had 14 points, 4 assists, or 4 rebounds, 2 assists in the steal against Houston. They beat Houston 57-53. So you need offense if you're a TJ Otzelberger team. And they're a team that's a classic pick against them in the first round of the tournament. But Lipsy, a good player, so I'll go with them. So 3 for 3 so far. I got 2 guys whose teams have sucked since I picked them, and then a guy who's hurt. So on to the Big East. I think I'm okay with this one, though.
I went with Tristan Newton from UConn, averaging 15 a game, 6.5 rebounds, 6 assists. When he gets hot from 3, UConn's on a different level. So, yeah, Tristan Newton.
I'm going with the big fella from Villanova, Eric Dixon, who's been there. This is his 4th year, really taken up his game in terms of offense. They've needed it. He's averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. It's actually less points than last year, I should say, but I feel like he's had more of an impact in terms of what they're doing on offense this year. You look at some of the games he's had, 24 against DePaul, 32 against Creighton, 34 against North Carolina. I mean, he's had his 2 biggest games of the season were their 2 best wins. So I think Eric Dixon, big body, 6'8", 255. Villanova, when Villanova's a team I like, but when he's playing like that, you really like, because I mean, he had 9 points and was essentially a non-factor against Connecticut, and they lost by 1. And he had a good game in a loss to Marquette, but they need. I mean, you have a guy who's weighs 255 pounds and he's shooting almost 35% from 3. I think that's a very good thing. So I'm gonna go Eric Dixon. Pac-12.
Pac-12, you skipped the SEC, but I'll go with Caleb Love. I went with RJ Davis. For the ACC, I'm going with Caleb Love from Arizona, 18.5 a game, 5 rebounds, 3.2 assists. Cop out, sure.
I'm going with the guy that's in the backcourt with him, Kylan Boswell, who, when I look at his stat sheet on KenPom, it says Champaign, Illinois, and now I'm sad. 40% from 3 this year, taking that year 2 step, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists a game. Some of his best games are in the biggest moments for them. I mean, in the Duke game, he was phenomenal, had 12, 8, and 5, only 1 turnover on the road. That was big time. I think if Caleb Love's not having a good game, they need something from Boswell, and he's performed in some games like that, and they needed it. His best shooting performance of the season was probably a 4 for 5 3 game against Belmont. I also had a 4 for 7 3 game against Colorado where they won by 47, so that didn't really matter. But I like Kylan Boswell a lot. I think if he stays in Arizona for 4 years, he's going to be the best guard in the country in his 4th year, I would say. I'm not sure if he will. Should have gone to Illinois, but that's neither here nor there. Thanks, Andre Curbelo. And SEC. I had the SEC listed after the Pac-12, so nice try.
Okay. I don't know why you would do that, but sure.
Does P come before S in the alphabet?
But up top there, never mind.
I messed it up. That's what happened.
I'm going with Connect from Tennessee, 18.5 a game. His rebounding and assists are not very good, but he's shooting 48.6% from the field, 41% from 3, almost 42%. I believe he's the best transfer in college basketball.
It's a safe bet. I'm going with a Kentucky guard because why wouldn't I? I'm going to go Rob Dillingham, averaging 14 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Just screams one and done lottery guard at Kentucky. Really, really good. I mean, he had, just to show you how good this Kentucky team is, he had 2 points against Georgia. And they scored 105. So he's phenomenal. Can score in a number of ways. He's been pretty efficient, 39% from 3. They're going to need a guy like this to step up in March. And I'm picking a Kentucky player right now that they need the most, I think it might be Dillingham. I think there's probably other options, whether it's Reed Shepard or the other dude, Antonio Reeves, right? Who was horrible in the second round against K-State last year. American Athletic Conference. This might be the only conference where we pick the same player.
Okay, David Jones from Memphis, 21 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, transferred from St. John's. Patino, one of those guys that he said, I don't need you, like AJ Storr, and here we are. I don't know if Patino actually said that, but
yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I feel like he probably did because I feel like Storr probably stays if Patino wants him.
Yeah,
I don't know. David Jones, 21.7 points per game is very good.
Yeah,
especially for a Memphis team that needs it because they lost 2 losses in a row. Guy's a scorer though. You look at his numbers at DePaul, he averaged 14.5. He averaged just over 13 at St. John's. So one thing this year that he's done better than previous years is shooting threes. He was 29% in his first 2 years of playing full time, 37% this year. He's also improved his free throw shooting. He's 81% this year. So he's taken a huge step at Memphis. And I think Memphis is going to be a dangerous team. They were very dangerous last year, and it was pretty much a coin flip between them and FAU. And FAU obviously comes out and ends up in the Final Four. But David Jones, Memphis, easy pick. Mountain West.
Mountain West. I went with Great Osaber. That's how you say his name. I'm not really sure. Utah State. He's averaging 18.7 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, almost 3 assists for Utah State. They're 18th in the country right now, 17-2.
Yeah, year one under Sprinkle going well. I'm going with a team that needs to pull themselves out of their own asses. 3 losses in a row for Nevada. Keenan Blackshear is my pick. He's a Florida Atlantic transfer, spent 2 years there. This is his 3rd year at Nevada. He's 6'6", pretty much runs the point for them. He's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Can't shoot the 3, so hopefully this is what Ty Rodgers becomes a few years from now. Maybe without the 16 points per game, but the 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and being 6'6" and shooting 22% from 3, but at least attempting the threes. He's 4 for 18, but he needs to start to carry them a little bit because 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting with 8 assists against Wyoming, you can't lose that game. If Blackshear can figure it out, Nevada has a chance to make the tournament because he's pretty much done everything for them. So except shoot threes, but that's my pick there. West Coast Conference.
I went with Aiden Mahaney of St. Mary's. He's averaging 14 a game, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't know why I picked him. The West Coast Conference doesn't have very many great players, so
I'm going with the big fella from San Francisco, Jonathan Mogbo, averaging 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 67% from the field. Double machine, obviously, with those numbers. Transfer from Missouri State. Probably the best player in the conference so far this year. I think he has a good chance to win the big award. You look at some of his performances in conference play. He had 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists against Loyola. Marymount, that is, had 30 points and 18 rebounds against Pacific in an overtime win, which game should not go to overtime. I would say he's probably the best. They played Arizona State non-conference. He had 23 and 16. So, and especially the assist numbers. He had 7 assists against San Diego for a center to be putting up those assist numbers. Take that every day. But other than that, the West Coast Conference does not have a huge number of great players this year. Probably because of where Gonzaga's at, but the Atlantic 10.
I went with Darren Holmes II of Dayton. He's averaging 19.5 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's a 6'10" forward that shoots 55.8% from the field and 43.6% from 3. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's Duran, but I digress. I'm going Jordan King. Jordan King, guard from Richmond. transfer from East Tennessee State, running the point this year for Richmond. When Richmond teams are good, they usually have a good point guard. You look at a couple of the past good Richmond teams, Burton and such. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, probably right behind Deron Holmes in the race for the Conference Player of the Year. Shooting 47% from the field, 41% from 3, 82% from the free throw line. And Richmond is a team that, they're 13-5, 5-0 in conference play. They got a huge game against Dayton on Saturday. So that'll be a big-time game to determine, where this conference is at. But Richmond, not a team that's very efficient on offense. So Jordan King, a big part of what they need to do to be able to win. Missouri Valley.
I went with Tucker DeVries of Drake, averaging 20.5 a game, 6 rebounds, 3.7 assists.
I think it's DeVries, but that's all right. Coach's son.
DeVries sounds better.
I'm going with Robbie Avila, the big man from Oak Forest, Illinois, from Indiana State. Sophomore, making that jump from year 1 to year 2, averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 55% from the field, 6'10", 240, shoots 43% from downtown. Decent free throw shooter. Run some offense there. I just think that you need a guy like this in this era of college basketball, a big man that can step out and shoot it. And he's just improved in just about every area of his game. I mean, he had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, made 4 threes against Drake. It's not his fault they lost that game. He didn't do anything against Michigan State, but he only played 18 minutes, so I don't know what happened there. But you look at their 3 losses this year. He had a good game against Drake. They lost. Like I said, he only played 18 minutes against Michigan State, and he didn't play at all against Alabama. So when he's on the floor, Indiana State's one of the better teams in the mid-major sphere, as it were. Nailed that phrase. Contenders and pretenders in each conference, which is always a good segment to show that Tyler picks Illinois for everything. So ACC.
That's right. So I took these off of Bracket Dom, who I think we've had on the show before, right? And then you deleted it or it didn't save. I don't know what happened, but he has North Carolina as a 1 seed. I'm keeping them in the contender spot. Clemson as a 5 seed. They're the pretenders.
Yeah, I don't think we've had him on the show, but he's a friend of the show.
I could have swore we had him on the show, but
maybe. I don't know. That's I don't know. Who'd you pick?
Contender North Carolina, pretender Clemson.
My contender is North Carolina as well. It's an obvious pick. And then my pretender, Florida State is not a 5-2 level team in this conference. So I think Florida State's pretending like they're a top 5 team in the conference when they're not. I mean, their conference wins are their best conference wins at Miami, who's struggling. So that's what it is. Big Ten.
My contender is Illinois. Shocking, I know. But with all the pieces, I think Illinois is the Final Four team. My pretender is going to be Wisconsin. I just don't think that their schedule has been that tough. I think that they're probably going to end up being a 2 or 3 seed because they have a very generous Big Ten schedule, and I don't see them making the Elite 8. So pretend away, Wisconsin.
I have Wisconsin as a contender because I want to give them a shout out.
Okay.
Good losses. 3 of the 4 losses are good. The Penn State one's tough. It is a road loss, to be fair, but I think that one of the big things for this Wisconsin team is they need to get a little bit better defensively. They've struggled at guarding the 3 this year in terms of percentages. They don't allow a lot of offensive rebounds, though. That's good for them, obviously, to get the offense going. They have the number 5 efficiency offense in the country, according to KenPom.com. AJ Storr, I think, brings a different element. John Blackwell's been a really good freshman for them. John Blackwell, 17 for 33 from 3 this year, shooting 51%. They need probably a little bit more offense from Chucky Hepburn.
Yeah.
I know they have a lot of sources of offense, whether it's Klesmet making threes or Blackwell making threes. Esigian plays a little bit, doesn't play as much as he did last year. Tyler Wall is not great this year, I would say, overall, based on the expectation in certain spots. Has been playing better of late. I'm going to say Wisconsin is a contender. I don't know how much of a contender they are, but I do think they're a top 3 team in the conference, probably second still. I would have them slightly above Illinois, but we'll see. I mean, they do play. They don't play until March, so can't really figure out. But we'll see where Wisconsin's at when they play Purdue in Madison on February 4th. I wasted a pretender pick here. Indiana was a little bit better when I wrote this down, but I just want to shout out Indiana for stinking. I don't think they're very good. Complete waste of a pick. Nobody thinks they're a contender, so it's on me. Big 12.
I've kind of been down on Houston, and so I'm going to put them in contender spot. I know that's probably a shock to the 7 people that listen to this, but give me Houston as a
strong. It's going to be a
contender. My pretender is going to be Baylor right now. Baylor's kind of up and down. I know Ray J. Dennis is really good, but I'm going to put them in the pretender spot.
I'm going to do the thing we just did again. I'm putting Baylor as a contender. Too many guards offensively. They'll figure it out. They probably should have beaten Texas. And obviously, coming off back-to-back losses, they got a big game Saturday to figure it out with TCU. Then after that, they got UCF on the road. See what happens there. But number 1 team in the country shooting the 3. They got Ray J. Dennis shooting 39.6. They got Jacoby Walter shooting 38. They got Jalen Bridges 38. They got Jaden Nunn 41. They got Langston Love 47. Too many ways to attack. I think they'll be fine. Plus, they got one of the better coaches in the country. My pretender is Iowa State because, this team, there's a 0% chance this team gets to the Sweet 16. I mean, just a 0% chance. They're not good enough offensively for my liking, as is tradition every year. Last year, they were the number 8 defense in the country, and they limped into the tournament and lost to Pitt and scored 41 points. So, Iowa State, no thanks. Big East.
Big East, number 1 team in the country is obviously a contender in UConn. My pretender is going to be Creighton. I just don't have a lot of faith in Creighton for some reason, and maybe I should, but I've kind of just had this disdain for Creighton for going on probably 3 years now, so might as well keep it going.
My contender, and this is a contender to make life hell for other teams, I think. Not a team that I think can actually get to a Final Four, but Seton Hall, I think, will be a very hard team to beat in the tournament. They're really, really. I don't know. They're weird. I think that they fit the profile of a pretender for me normally, but I just believe for some reason. I don't know. There's a lot of really, really old guys on this team. I mean, Kadari Richmond, Alamir Dawes, Dre Davis. There's a lot of very old players. I think one thing that hurts is offensively, they don't really do one thing well, and defensively they probably should be a little bit better. But I believe in Seton Hall right now. It's probably going to change in a month. But my pretender is Marquette. I think the injury to Sean Jones is a killer. He went down with the ACL. It's really just it's up to Tyler Kolek, Cam Jones, and Oso Ighodaro to figure it out because Chase Ross has missed 3 games in a row as well. So injuries are tough. I don't know what Marquette can do. A couple of tough wins recently, though. Last week beating Villanova and St. John's, and they got DePaul next. But things are going to ramp up for them in late February into early March. It's going to be a tough way to finish the season. They got Xavier, Providence, Creighton, UConn, Xavier to finish the season. So I don't think Marquette can reach the ceiling that they originally had this season. Pac-12.
Pac-12, my contender is going to be Oregon. I know that they just lost to Utah yesterday on the road, though. So, and I think it was a 2-point game. That's pretty close. But, yeah, give me Oregon contender. My pretender, just because I don't think that they're Final Four worthy right now, is Arizona.
That's an outrageous selection, but that's all right. My contender is Oregon as well. They shoot it well from 3. They don't turn the ball over very much. They got a good mix of players. I mean, you look at some of the the veterans and freshmen on this team. Shellstad's played a pretty big role. Kwame Evans has done a lot. So I like the mix there. Obviously, Dana Altman, I'm a big fan. So Oregon there. Arizona State, I think, is a pretender right now. They're 5-2 in the conference. I don't think they're that good. I think part of that is just some of the offensive inefficiency that we see with them. They're sub 250 in 3-point percentage, sub 235 in 2-point percentage, and they're one of the 30 worst free throw shooting percentage teams in the country. So I think they're going to start to lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
I think the stretch from February 8th against Colorado, February 17th is 3 of 4 losses. Colorado, Utah, Oregon State, Arizona. That's 3 losses right there. I think they're going to have a tough time getting into the tournament. SEC.
I actually just flip-flopped this today. I have my contender being Auburn. I had Auburn as a pretender just because I hate the program, and Bruce Pearl can – yeah. Anyways, so I picked Auburn just because you talked me into them, I think, more than anything. And my pretender right now is going to be Tennessee. And I think that we looked at this different ways. Like I looked at it like what they're projected to be in the tournament and how far they should go. I don't think Tennessee is a Final Four team now, where I had them winning it at preseason. So
my contender is Kentucky because I think Kentucky will be the most dangerous team in March from the SEC. And my pretender is clear as I mean, this team stinks. This is the worst team to ever start 13-0 in the history of college basketball, and that's Ole Miss. Year one under Chris Beard, this team is a fraud. They're 15-3 right now, 2-3 in the SEC. They finally start to play some good teams. They lose to Tennessee by 26. They lose to a team at LSU that's not even that good by 9, and they lose to Auburn by 23. They did beat Florida, which that doesn't make much sense, but whatever. I think Chris Beard, if he stays a few more years at Ole Miss, he'll have them in a good spot. But this year, this team is a fraud. Not good. I don't care what the record is. I know their offensive numbers are good, but look at their schedule, their non-conference schedule. The best opponent they played was Memphis, who is fine, but not, they played 3 teams inside the top 100 of Ken Palm in the non-conference, and 3 of those 3 teams are all outside the top 50. So play a real schedule, Chris. Okay, we know you're trying to stack your record, but
yeah,
disgusting. American Athletic.
My contender is going to be FAU. They have the experience. They've been to the tournament. I think that they'll do well once they get back to it. My pretender, even though I think they're going to win the conference, is going to be Memphis. I don't think Memphis is going to do much come tournament time.
My contender is Memphis. I think I'm a penny believer now, so there you go. My pretender is North Texas, who's 4-1 in conference play. Year one for Ross Hodge. Obviously, Grant McCasland leaving for Texas Tech. They're not. I don't like watching them. So there you go. They're slow. They don't play fast.
Fair.
Their offense stinks. So not a fan. But they're 4-1. I think they'll be 4-3 before you know it. I think they'll lose to SMU and lose to FAU. So could be 2 in a row there. Mountain West, a tough one here, I think.
I picked Utah State for my contender, and I picked Colorado State for my pretender. I can't say that I've watched a lot of Mountain West basketball, but
it's always on after the Big Ten.
I know. I just haven't watched it. Sorry.
My contender is Utah State as well. Started 1-1, got to 16-1, lost to New Mexico, then won again. They're 17-2. They're pretty good on both ends. One thing I'm a little worried about is the lack of 3-point shooting. They got one guy shooting above 35% with enough attempts. A little concerned by that, but they make up for it because they're top 15 in 2-point percentage, so they're very good in that area. Pretender Boise State, 4-1 in the conference. I think that'll change. They got Utah State in the 27th, New Mexico in the 31st, Colorado State on February 6th. So that could be 3 of their next 5 could be losses. So I'm going to take Boise State as a pretender. West Coast Conference, which is just the dumbest one because I don't even know what this conference is right now.
I don't know. I put St. Mary's as contender. I don't know. And I got Gonzaga as a pretender because Gonzaga's struggling right now. So
Yeah, I don't even know if Gonzaga is pretending to suck at this point. St. Mary's is my contender as well. They're good defensively. I believed in them preseason. Their non-conference was bad, but they're 5-0 in the conference. I'm going to take San Francisco as a pretender, 4-1. The theme here is that I don't like teams that aren't efficient enough on offense, and that's what San Francisco is to me. And you look at, they started 8-4, then got to 15-4, and the big reason is because they played Northern Arizona, Fresno State, Mississippi Valley State, Pacific, San Diego, Portland, Loyola Marymount. Like, none of those are really huge threats, so that'll help your record right there. 8-10.
Contender Dayton. I think it's pretty clear that Dayton is the best team in that conference. My pretender, just because they're 5-0 right now in the conference, is Richmond. So
my exact picks as well. Dayton contender, Richmond pretender. Missouri Valley.
Contender, I got Drake. You're gonna hate this. I have Indiana State as my pretender.
Dead wrong, my friend. Dead wrong. I'm taking Indiana State as a contender. They're good on offense, and I like them a lot because they have, like I said, they have a very efficient big man that can do a lot of different things, and they have three guys shooting 40+% from three on top of Avila shooting 43%, and they have Mason Miller, a junior, who's 14 of 31 from three, 45%, and Julian Larry, a junior, 54%, 19 of 35. So they can shoot the ball. They're the exact type of team you do not want to play in the tournament. If they're like a 7 or an 8 seed, they're first in effective field goal percentage, second in 3-point percentage, second in 2-point percentage, 13th in free throw percentage. This is the number one mid-major team to watch if you're looking for a game to watch. So screw Drake. I'm going Bradley as my pretender. I think that they might even be a third tier. Like, it might be Indiana State by themselves, then Drake in the second, then Bradley in the third, and then everybody else. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, moving on. National Player of the Year race, it's Zach Edey and nobody else.
Yes,
so that's over. I did write down some candidates for Coach of the Year, even though this was a couple weeks ago, so it could be different now. I have Mark Pope, BYU. BYU first year in the Big 12. They're a really, really good metrics team. They're 14-4 in the season, 2-3 in the Big 12. So they haven't exactly passed the test so far, but we'll see. I mean, they got Houston coming up tomorrow, so that'll be a big one. But I think he's done a good job overall. I got Brad Underwood, Illinois, because of the roster turnover and the record so far, and weathering the storm without their best player. I think he's a candidate there. I got John Calipari, Kentucky, roster turnover, losing Shibwe, reshaping the roster, recruiting, some transfer stuff. I got Shaheen Holloway, Seton Hall, having a really good year. I got Porter Moser, Oklahoma. Oklahoma was ranked 9th in the country just a couple weeks ago. They're starting to slide a little bit now, but still a threat, 15-3 in the season. Beat Cincinnati on the road Saturday. That was a big win. They got Texas and Texas Tech this week, 2 more big games. Both of those are in Norman, so that should help. I think he'd be a good candidate. I got Danny Sprinkle from Utah State. We already talked about them. They're very good. I got Tommy Lloyd at Arizona because he lost some very good players the last couple seasons, and they've kind of regrouped and, bringing Caleb Love, helping develop some of the other players there. Like Gonzaga and Arizona are really good development programs, so Arizona, I think, has done a good job of that this year. Penny Hardaway, my guy at Memphis, doing a good job. And then Grant McCaslin at Texas Tech. Nobody expected Texas Tech to be 15-3 with a 4-1 conference record this year. And their only conference loss was to Houston. So
no great guard in that, huh?
I was going to include him, but I didn't. But he would probably be on the list as well. Big spot coming up for Texas Tech. They have at Oklahoma, at TCU, home against Cincinnati, at Baylor. So 4 top 35s right there.
Yeah.
Big spot. Bracketologically speaking, this is 131 Sports. They're the second ranked and latest updated that I saw according to Bracket Metrics. Bracket Dom is number 1, but he hasn't updated since the 16th, so I assume he'll do an update tomorrow. But he should do Monday updates next time. Bracket Matrix does the rankings and such. 131 Sports, current bids, number of bids per conference. The Big 12, 10. which is crazy but not unexpected. The SEC 7, the Big East 6, the Big Ten 6, Mountain West 6, ACC 4, Pac-12 2, American 2. Last 4 in: Kansas State, Nevada, Cincinnati, Boise State. First 4 out: Gonzaga, Colorado, Oregon, Ohio State, which is crazy to see that. Gonzaga first 4 out. Drake, Providence, Texas, Florida are next 4 out. And then the seedless, notably, Purdue, UConn, Houston, UNC are the 1s. Kansas, Arizona, Tennessee, Wisconsin, the 2s. Auburn, Baylor, Kentucky, Duke, the 3s. Marquette, Creighton, Illinois, Dayton, the 4s. Alabama, Oklahoma, Memphis, BYU, the 5s. This is the Mountain West side of the bracket here. The 6s: San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State, Iowa State. So 3 Mountain West teams there. 7s: Utah, Clemson, Texas Tech, FAU. 8s: Texas A&M, Villanova, Mississippi, South Carolina. 9s: TCU, Mississippi State, St. John's, Seton Hall. 10s: Michigan State, Nebraska, Northwestern, New Mexico. 11s: Wake Forest, Kansas State, Nevada, Cincinnati, Boise State, Princeton. And then a bunch of automatic bid teams. So if you're an Illini fan, you're watching this, which you might be. Illinois would play McNeese State, UC Irvine, Samford, or Akron. 13s. So notable because Samford's a topic of discussion at all times. All right. Countdown to March Madness returns every Monday. I just put February 5th because why not? Whatever. What else is gonna be going down? Those episodes should have much more, hopefully more game analysis and stuff rather than, player stuff. With the games in February and March as important as possible. So should be there every Monday until the tournament's over, as has been the case for a while. So that would be 2 weeks, I guess. So the 5th. So the first week in the first Monday in February. So yeah, could be the 12th. We'll see. But right now let's play on the 5th. And then finishing it up, Final Four predictions right now.
You're not doing the other thing?
Is there another thing there? Did I add something?
Mid-season All-American picks?
No, it's too outdated. I messed it up. It's over.
Okay. All right. Yeah, my Final Four has changed. I think I've only kept one team since the beginning. Purdue would be that team. I'm going with UConn, Auburn, and Houston. 2 teams that I hate on that list, by the way.
We have very similar Final Fours. I have Purdue, I have UConn, I have Auburn, and I have Arizona. So the anti-U there. My preseason was Purdue and then other teams. I don't remember. Let me look here. Purdue, Arizona, Duke, Alabama. So I've swapped out Duke and Alabama for Auburn and UConn. And you took everybody out except for Purdue.
Correct, yeah.
And your national champion is gone. Tennessee, RIP.
Tennessee, see you later.
All right, we'll see how that changes as the weeks go on. Final thing, just to throw this out there, just some games to look forward to this week, I would say. There's really only 2 tonight. ESPN doubleheader. Cincinnati at Kansas and Wake Forest, North Carolina. Wake Forest, North Carolina is actually the first game. It's just according to the KenPom thrill score, it's not as good of a game. But Tuesday should be a big day. You got Houston at BYU. You got Kentucky at South Carolina. You got Ohio State at Nebraska. Xavier at Creighton. Wisconsin at Minnesota. Texas at Oklahoma. TCU at Oklahoma State. Wednesday, you got Auburn at Alabama. Utah at Washington State. Illinois at Northwestern, Villanova at St. John's, Colorado at Washington, Maryland at Iowa, Providence at Seton Hall, Colorado State at Nevada, Mississippi State at Florida, Maryland at Iowa, LSU at Georgia, NC State at Virginia. Thursday, you got SMU at North Texas, San Francisco at Gonzaga, Grand Canyon at Stephen F. Austin. Friday, you have Michigan State at Wisconsin, Stanford at Cal. That's a doubleheader there on FS1. Saturday, you got a bunch of stuff, including Kansas at Iowa State, a test there for them. Obviously, Illinois, Indiana, a huge battle there. The 64th ranked game of the day, according to the thrill score. And then the big one to look forward to on Sunday, FS1, 11 a.m., Xavier at UConn. So not a great week of games, to be honest. So hopefully it's better in the coming weeks, but yeah, we'll see. Pretty poor week of games during the week. as compared to the standard. So I'm going to keep this under an hour. We're going to end this now. We'll see everybody Monday, February 5th.